I was a kid, I spent most of my time exploring outside. That's where I discovered the power of nature, plants, and science. My whole world changed, and there was no looking back. Some people have diaries. I kept notebooks of all my adventures. Whatever I need to find, a faraway place, an old friend, or a window to the world beneath our feet. It's all in there. Just turn the page and whoa! My name is Maria, and these are my nature notebooks.
Whenever spring comes around, I am always amazed when the plants start to bloom and come to life again, especially after one of those harsh Chicago winters. Have you ever noticed a plant that you thought was all dried out suddenly surprise you and then grow leaves and flowers, especially after it finally rains? Plants have evolved to live in all sorts of extreme conditions in places all around the world. Let's take a look at a place that's a little different than life here in Chicago, a desert. Deserts make up 33% of Earth's land area. That's about a third of all the land on the planet. I sometimes wonder, how do plants and animals survive in such harsh conditions? They must be pretty tough. Lucky for us, we get to visit desert plants here at the Chicago Botanic Garden at the Arid Greenhouse. Would you like to come check it out? Well, let's go. Hey, Kathy, how are you?
Hey, Maria. Hey, kids. How are you today?
We're doing great. What are you up to today?
Well, I'm here today at the Chicago Botanic Garden, hanging out in the desert greenhouse, also known as the Arid Greenhouse because that means dry.
Some of our friends were asking, what is a desert?
Well, first of all, when you think of a desert, you probably think of a place that's very hot. Deserts often are hot, but some deserts can be cold or they can even be moderate. What's important about a desert is that it doesn't get much rainfall. We're talking about 10 inches of rain or less a year. Now, if you compare that to Chicago, Chicago gets about 39 inches a year. So the plants that grow around your home in Chicago or in other parts of the country that are not desert can't live in the desert. They just don't get enough rain.
Are deserts always hot?
Some deserts get very, very hot in the summer and very, very cold in the winter. So the range of temperatures can even be so extreme that it causes a problem for the plants to get enough water because there's not enough water in the air.
What kind of plants are in the desert?
So here at the Chicago Botanic Garden, we display different kinds of plants that grow in the desert. Some plants that you are probably very familiar with are like these cactus that are here. Other plants are known as succulents. And the succulents are like this jade plant we have over here that have a thick, spongy leaf with a waxy coating.
How can plants stay alive when there isn't a lot of water?
Well, desert plants have many ways of surviving without as much water. And that is, they have ways to hold on to the water so they don't lose it to the environment. And then that sustains them through the drier seasons.
So they can hold on to water and not need rain for a while?
Oh yes, these plants can live just as every other plant does throughout the year, but they may have a dormant period when they shut down and aren't as active. Dormant means it's like asleep. It's sort of like our trees here in Chicago that lose their leaves during the winter time and go to sleep while the snow is falling, and then in spring they wake up again.
Why are cactuses so pokey? Why do they have spines?
Well, you know that cactuses are covered with spines that are pokey and you don't want to touch them. Well, cactuses are pokey for several reasons that help them protect them from the dry conditions. You probably know that animals will not bite a cactus in order to get the water that's stored there because they'll get a mouthful of sharp pokes in their mouths, and they don't want that. But there are other reasons that cactus have spines for protection. The spines on the cactus also protect the cactus from losing water. By surrounding the cactus, they shade the cactus from the hot sun, and they also help redirect the air so it doesn't blow off as much of the moisture that's stored in that cactus and helps protect it from the dry air.
Those spines look sharp. It's kind of scary, but also super cool.
I know, cactuses seem really scary because they're covered with those sharp spines and you know you'll get hurt if you touch them. But we can appreciate how beautiful they are if we just keep our distance away from them and enjoy them in their setting and just don't get too close. Cactuses are really beautiful, and some of them even grow flowers that are really, really special.
Wait, cacti grow flowers?
Yes, cactuses grow flowers just like plants in your neighborhood. And those flowers usually appear in the rainy season when the plant gets enough water and has enough resources to produce the flowers. The flowers are usually very fragrant and very large and are often pollinated by bats. After the flower's done blooming, then a plant grows a fruit, and inside the fruit are seeds to grow new plants.
Are there other desert plants besides cacti?
So cactus are not the only plants that grow in the desert. There's another kind of plant that we call a succulent. And succulent, like this jade plant, has a thick leaf. It's a thick leaf with a waxy coating. You can feel, and you can probably see the shiny surface, and you can feel the waxy coating. So imagine this sponge is the inside of a leaf. It's thick and it can absorb water. And if we put it inside a plastic bag, then it's holding water inside and it can't escape because of the waxy coating on the outside. The plastic coating holds the water in, and just like the coating on this leaf, that'll prevent it from drying out when the air all around is dry.
How does water get to desert plants?
It does rain in the desert. The desert gets about 10 inches of rain a year, but it happens usually during one season of the year. And when it rains, the plants have to soak up as much of the rain as they possibly can and store it for the rest of the year when there is no rain. I wanted you to take a look at this cactus over here and notice the beautiful shape. We call these pleats. And the pleats are very, very important to how the plant can absorb and store water. I've made a model to show you how this works. This is a model of a stem of a plant that would be growing in your neighborhood, and this is the model of a stem that's growing in the desert. When it rains, the stem can swell, and the pleats allow the stem to expand and hold on to that extra water. And then as it uses up the water throughout the rest of the year, it can contract, and it doesn't harm the stem of the plant. If the plant was shaped like a cylinder, there's no extra space for the water, and the stem cannot expand and stretch to allow that water to come in and be stored. So these pleats are an important feature of a cactus that help it survive in the dry conditions of a desert.
That is so cool that its unique shape helps it survive.
Check this out. I want to show you one of my favorite desert plants. These plants are called lithops. They're also known as living stones, and I think you can figure out why. Just take a look at these little gems. They look like colorful stones in the sand, but they're actually plants. They're plants that grow and look like stones, which helps them to survive. Any animal coming by will be fooled by the way they look and will think they are actually stones. So animals won't take a bite out of them because they'll think they're going to get a mouthful of rocks. and that wouldn't be very pleasant. I once heard someone say, you go to the desert, you see one cactus, you've seen them all. But there are so many different kinds of cactus and succulents that you can see when you come to the Chicago Botanic Garden and visit our arid greenhouse.
Thanks for showing us so much fun stuff, Kathy.
Well, Maria, you know I love to talk to you about plants, and especially some of my favorites here in the desert greenhouse. Thanks for visiting. We'll see you next time.
Hi, Jess. What are you up to?
Hi, Maria. I'm just using my pruners to deadhead some of the flowers on this cactus.
What? Deadhead. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
So after the cactus blooms, it'll leave a little dead flower. And so deadheading is just taking off that dead flower. And with cactus, because they're a little pokey, I have to use my pruners instead of my actual hands.
Oh, wow. What do you like most about working with something as awesome as a cactus?
I love the diversity in all of the different types of cactus. All of the cactus have different shapes and sizes and colors, and it's really cool to see how this species of plants grows in such different ways.
They do. We've seen all sorts of colors and shapes, and it's amazing.
What I like most about working with cacti and all their little spikes is you have to be really careful. I don't think that they're dangerous, and I don't think that it's a hazard. I think it's something that we have to be really aware of when we move. And so when I work with the desert cactus, I have to be very aware of my body and how I move through the garden.
Oh, I see. Yes, it could be really easy to step on one, and not only will you harm the cactus, but you will hurt your foot also.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever bumped into a cactus?
I have a couple times I've bumped into a cactus and I've gotten some spikes on my body, and it does hurt a little bit, but it only teaches me to be more careful and to be more gentle around the plants.
So be very careful. If you have a cactus at home, respect it and don't play with it.
Yes.
It's so cool to be able to see desert plants, and we're not in the desert.
I know.
What do you like most about working with so many desert plants?
I love working with these plants because they're so different from the tropical plants in terms of how much water they need. They don't need as much water as the other plants, and what kind of care that they need. And I'm very enamored with this garden in how different it is and learning different ways on how to take care of it.
What else are you working on today?
Yeah, I got to get back to it. I'm gonna go prune one of our cacti elephant trees. And that's helpful so that the tree gets cleaned up a little bit before it releases new leaves, and so that each leaf has access to as much sunlight as possible.
Can me and my friends come watch?
Yeah, let's go, friends. So this is the elephant tree, and I'll try and look for branches that are in the way of other branches. So this branch is going to cross eventually with a branch that's coming from this way. So I'll just kind of snip this guy off.
The tree is getting a haircut. Jess, why do you do that?
So we do that to ensure the health of the tree. And so when branches cross each other, they might compete for sunlight, and they might weaken whatever branch is not getting less sunlight. So it's good to keep the plant clean and healthy, kind of the way we get haircuts regularly. Yeah.
That's cool. Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
Great. How are you, Maria?
I'm doing great. My friends and I, we are learning all about desert plants here in the desert greenhouse. And we know that desert plants need really special care. How do you take care of them here?
So here we give them a whole lot of sunlight. We have these clean open windows with no obstructions, nothing blocking the light outside of them. So they're getting all that full sunshine, and then they're also not getting a lot of water. They don't want that much water.
Really?
Really, yeah. So what two things do plants typically need?
Water and sunlight.
Yep, and they love a lot of sun, but they don't need a lot of water. So we don't water them too often. They die if we do.
Really?
So we have to really pull that back. So it's those two key things that are just so unique about these plants.
Wow. How often do you have to water them?
We water them maybe once every 3 weeks in the winter time. During the winter, there's just not that much sunlight. The days are a lot shorter, so they're just not getting that much. And then in the summertime, when the sun is in full effect, the days are very long, sometimes 12 hours at the peak, then we're watering them maybe once a week, which is still a lot less than we water the other plants.
What do you love most about working with desert plants?
I love how unique they are. They're so weirdly shaped sometimes. They have all these cool, interesting colors. And I live in Chicago, and we don't have these types of plants outside. They just can't live here. So it's really special to come into this space and be in a different environment. It's like being transported to somewhere else, like the desert in Arizona or the deserts of Mexico. It's really fun.
That is so awesome. My friends and I love the idea that we can still see desert plants and we're not even in a desert. So that's cool. Thank you, Sarah, so much for sharing with me and my friends. We learned a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for coming by.
Wow, I had no idea that so many different types of plants could grow in a place that got so little water. Did you know that cacti can bloom flowers? Imagine if we could speed up time and see one of them bloom. Let's take a look. Wow, cacti are beautiful. There are so many different sizes and shapes, and there are some that may look a little strange, but they bloom the most beautiful flowers. Remember, if you see a cactus, keep your distance, but be sure to take a closer look. You might be surprised at what you'll find. I had so much fun today, friends, and I cannot wait for our next adventure. I'll see you next time.